Okay, good morning everyone. In the previous tutorial, I have teach you something more about how to compose all these commands into abstract compositions, including using sweep tool to create a surface, contour to create a series of cutting edge, and finally using pipe to generate the lines into solid geometries. And also we have learned something about rhino grasshopper right here, using the graphic coding to make a script and using that one to generate multiple points and a sphere. And so that help us to create something amazing visual elements. So that's the things what we have done before. And now we are going to finish this tutorial. Let's select all of them using drag tools to drag all of them and Control and H hide all of them. So for now, the things we are going to do is to finish this tutorial. And as far as you can see, we are going to model this one, this twisted box. And if you just using manual way to model these weird geometry, it will be really complicated. So inside Rhinosys, there is a very important idea that you guys need to understand. It's, the thing is, when we are going to model something, we need to decompose the geometry into several pieces and understand the inner logic and the inner compositions of that geometries so that we can use in simple surface, curve, or even points to compose our geometries. So when you are going to model this one, actually we have to observe first, just like what we did inside fundamental design. You need to observe the object first to understand the features and the logic of the geometry. So if you take a look of these geometries, probably we can turn off the other object first. So let's go to the bob right here and right click and choose isolate object. Now we only leave this object. You can double click here and go to full side view. Select this one and click zoom extend and using your right mouse button to see all different directions. And as far as you can see, probably you may figure it out. This twisted box actually is just a simple cube, but with twisted faces. And all these faces basically are mirror. So for the top view, basically is the mirror from the bottom view. From the left view is the mirror from the right view. So actually, we can start model this one from a very simple cube box. So let's do this. And let's call out everything. And for now, I don't need this one, so I will hide them again. Or you can go to here to hide them. Okay, just right here. Okay, and inside here, inside Rhinosys, we can put the layer under another layer. So which means we can use this one to control, to make a layer group. So all the things is controlled by this layer, and here is the process, so I can hide them. So if you want, you can do that one as well. Drag the layer to another layer. So that's the way we can use for manage our model. All right, let's undo this one. So call this one, you might figure it out. Actually, this twisted box is just a very simple box and with multiple twisted surface. And for the twisted surface, this kind of surface, we can down by simple loft. And if you observe even more deep, you might figure it out. For this kind of curve, actually, we just rotate this one into 90 degree, and it will become the vertical curve. So this way to model this one, actually, it's pretty simple. Let's do this, okay? Copy all this operation frame, hold on your Alt key, move them to the left side, and let's start to do the model. First thing, let's create a cube. Go to here and make sure it's a cube which has same height, same length, and same width in all different directions. So let's choose this one, choosing corner point, and you can drag. So usually I will just using type in, it will be better and it will be way more precise. So let's type in maybe 12 12 is too small, maybe 112, and then 112 again. And once you confirm the Y's, press enter, and 112 again. That's the length of the cube. Press enter, and finally it's the height. Just type in 120 again. So you will get this box. Probably it's a little bit too large, but it doesn't matter. Let's move this one to the right position. So that's the first thing we are going to do. And then I will copy this one so that you can see. Second thing is that if you take a look of the top view, you might figure out the plan view of the surface is just like this. From the top part and the bottom part, both of them has a curve. So the things we're going to do is to draw the curve. So let's go to control point curve right here. Select the point curve, and I hope it could be a symmetry arc. So I will choose a midpoint as a reference right here. And once you finish, click enter again. So this one is pretty much done. But probably this one is too close to the middle line, and I don't want this arc go too close to the middle line. So I will select this curve and select the control point right here. Move this one up. Okay. So now we have the basic curve. For the other side, we just mirror this one. Let's type in mirror. M-I-R-R-O-R. Right here, mirror. Select the middle line, select another side middle point, and we can finish the mirror. Basically, the idea of mirror is that you have to choose a mirror axis or a mirror plane. So for example, if you want to mirror this curve to another side, you have to choose in this middle line as the mirror. So it will, just like when you take a mirror, it will make this object, be mirrored to another side. So now we get these geometries. Let's select both of them. Hold on your shift key to select both of them. Okay. So if you remember, for the other side, for these two curves, we just rotate the curve which we have created into 90 degree, and then we can get this one. So how can we do that? Very easy. Let's select this one and hold on your Alt key to copy and rotate 90 degree. And if you are not so sure about how to rotate this one, you can just take a reference of the finished model. So basically, I have to rotate this one in 90 degree and then rotate again in y-axis. Here is your reference. Rotate again in y-axis. So I will do that again. And this time I will choose in the blue directions into negative 90 degree. Okay, so now we get the curve. And let's type in move, M-O-V-E tools, or if you want, you can also use in Gumbo to do that. But usually I will just use in move the points to this point. And for the other side, we can just do the same things. Select this curve, type in copy, and copy to another side. And if you want, you can use in mirror as well. Okay, so now we have the curve. So in order to create this surface, we need to use in sweep 2 because we have 2 rails and 2 sections. So in this time, we cannot use in loft. We need to use in sweep 2. So let's type in sweep 2, this one, choosing the rail, first one and second one, and then select your sections. Press enter. Now you get your geometries. For now, you cannot see because it was hidden inside the box. So the things we can do is to copy this one, or we can just switch to the wireframe mode so that you can see that. I will copy all the things again. Hold on your Alt key and select everything. Move this one to the third one. Now let's start to do the twisted box. For now, it's very simple. For the front side, we just rotate the surface in green direction. Hold on your Alt key in 90 degree and rotate in red directions, negative 90 degree. Okay, unfortunately, actually we make to another side. That's not my expectations, but actually it doesn't matter. Let's just move this one to this side. And for now, I think we don't need a reference box. So I will switch to shady mode and delete the reference box. Okay, so for now we have the surface right here. So let's copy this one to the front view. Let's use a mirror again. M-I-R-R-O-R. Choosing the midpoint, mirror to another side. And make sure you have choose the midpoint or core point as well. Both of them are fine. Okay, so now we have copied this surface to this side. And for the side surface, we can just select this one, rotate again into 90 degree, and rotate again 90 degree. Okay, so finally, let's copy or let's move this one to here. And for the other side, let's just use a mirror and using the center point, center line as the mirror axis. And for the bottom part, we can do that as well. Select this one and choosing this line as the mirror point. So let's type in mirror again. Choosing a midpoint and another side midpoint. Oh, unfortunately, probably for now, right now, choosing the planar directions as the mirror direction. So it's not the things we want, but it doesn't matter. We can just type in. If you remember, we can using gumbo for copy. So let's go select this surface and choosing the gumbo and choosing this blue box, and it's about the blue box means scale. So let's type in -1. Select this one and type in -1. Don't forget to hold on your auto key. Okay. Type in -1, and now we get a mirror surface. And let's do that manually. Move this one to the button. But for now, everything looks red, which means the surface was in the back face. It was in the back side. It's not in the right directions. But actually, we can fix this one in a very simple way. Just select everything, press Ctrl and J, join all of them together, and then will become one solid surface. And for a solid surface, solid geometries, the front face is always outside, and in the red face, the big face is always inside. So now we have finished the twisted box. The logic is, first is you need to understand the composition of the geometries. So you will see basically this geometry is just a simple box. And for this curve, for this twisted surface, we can just using one curve and mirror in different direction to create this geometry using sweep 2. And finally, mirror, mirror, and mirror, and you can get the geometry you want. So the key is about to decompose the geometry, understand the logic, and finally use the command which you have already known to construct them. So I think no matter if you are going to using Rhinosys, Blender, Maya, the logic is always the same. Decompose the geometry, understand the inner logic, and finally get the things you want. Okay, so that's about the first practice. Let's delete this one. And for the second practice, it was called flow. And usually when we are working on industrial model, we don't use this command that often. It's a little bit tricky, but it's also very interesting one. And still we can try to figure out how we can use in this one. Alright, so let's copy all the operation frame to the right side. Select all of them. And hold on to the Alt key, move to the right side. So the thing is, for now we are going to create a wave curve, and then we will have a base curve, and we are going to transform this wave curve into the shape of a target curve, which means this arc. Okay. In order to do that, we need to create a base curve as a reference, and this base curve it will measures. So actually, it will point out the length of the wave curve, and the rhinosis will help you to transform the shape of the wave curve from the start point to the end points, and just reflect the shape of the base curve to this arc curve. A little bit hard to understand, so we can take a look of the operation. So first things, I'm going to create a baseline using the point line to create a baseline. Okay, and then we can copy this one and using rebuild. And for rebuild, we need degree 2 and more faces, and probably I would choose maybe 13. It will be quite enough. And for now, turn on your control point. Press F10. Press F10 to turn on your control point. And now you have multiple control points. Basically, they will have each point will have same distance between each others. So let's select the point. I will select this one, this one, this one. And if you have this kind of points, we can just delete them. And it doesn't have to be completely the same size or same positions. And if you want, well, we can do that. But I think it doesn't matter anyway. We can delete these two and select them. And move this one up. And move these points down. But for now, the point doesn't have the same length, just like this one. So in order to do that, we have to using scale. Let's go to the transform and choosing scale 1D. Scale 1D will be quite enough. We can use this point as reference, and here is the endpoint, so that we can use in this way to scale this curve. Let's do that again. Use this one as a start point, and this one is the end point. So now it has the same length, just like this. And it will be a little complicated, but if you want to have the same proportions, same distance between each point, well, we have to measure the number of the points at the very beginning. So I just show you an alternative way. Alright, so for now we have the curve, and we have the baseline. And finally, the things we need is the target line. So let's copy this one again and type in rebuild. In order to make this one become the arc, we need to give this curve 3 control points and degree in 2. And let's press F10 again. Select the middle point and move this one up. So now we get the target curve. Let's turn off the control point. Press F11. You can turn off your control points. And now let's start to assemble all of them together. First is copy this one to the second operation frame. And the geometry you want to transform, you need to put this one probably more or less in the same place like the base lines. So let's move this one again using move tools. Just click enter and you can repeat the operations. And now let's move this one as well. Let's using move this one to the baseline. The key is the start point of the baseline and the start point of the target line, and also the things you want to transform. The start point and the end point supposed to be in the same positions, so that rhinoceros can help you to generate the geometries. So now let's type in flow, and you can find the command right here, flow along curve and flow along surface. Flow along surface is another thing. So this time the things we are going to use is flow along curve. Let's type in flow. Choose the object to flow along the curve, so which means this waving curve. Once you finish, press enter. And then choosing the baseline. The baseline is the reference for us, so we can choose here. And it's better to choose the end point or the start point. So basically I will choose in the start point right here. And for target curve, you have to choose the same position as well. So just choosing the start point. And as far as you can see, random series will help us to make this curve flow along the target curve. But it looks a little bit weird. Why is that? Because if you're using the length of this curve and just follow the shape of this arc, the length will just end right here. So if you want to make this one be extend to the end point, we have to do that in another way. So let's using flow again, or let's go to transform, flow along curve. Select the curve, which means the wave curve. Press enter. Select the base curve, and finally the target curve. Before we do the target curve, you have to choose in rigid or no, stretch. And we have to change the stretch into yes right here. So random series will help us to stretch this waving curve and make this one has the same length just like the arc. So let's do this. Choosing the target line and finish the operation. So we can, for now we have gathered these two different curves. Okay, one is it has the same length just like this. And another one, it was straight, so it was longer than this one. Okay, so final things, the things how we can make this kind of fan shape, actually it's pretty simple. For this one, I will just move all of them to the original positions and copy these two things to the right side. In order to do this one, we're just using loft. When we're working on loft, we can using point or curve. So this time I'm going to use single point. Let's create a single point and type in loft. Let's choosing the curve and choosing the points and press enter. And you can get the things you want. For now, you see there are so many wireframes on the geometry surface. Why is that? Actually, it's because the complexity of the surface, actually, it was related to the complexity of the curve. So if you have so many different control points on the curve, if you're using this curve to create surface, you will have the same number of the wireframes. So that's the reason why you get so many wireframes on the surface. If you don't want to see that, one way for sure you can simplify this surface, these geometries, this curve. Another way is that you can just hide them. So let's select the surface and go to the property, object, ISO curve density. You can just uncheck this box and you can get the result. Okay, so that's the things about how we can use flow. And actually, not only about this kind of curve, we can also flow object based on the flow along curve. We can make object flow along the curve. So let's take a look of this one. For this one, I just create this kind of curve and make this object flow along these geometries. And it will be, we can use in this way to create something like maybe a belt or maybe some necklace, things like that. So let's take a look about how to use this one. I will use this twisted box as a unit. Let's copy this one here and using scale to smaller this one. Not scale for 1D, but it's just scale. And you will scale the object in 3 dimensions. Okay, so and then let's copy this twisted box. You can make this one longer. And then once we have this one, let's create a curve. Here, let's draw the baseline first. Move this one down. And let's draw the target curve second. You can draw anything you want. Okay, but for now, if you remember, it will be If you draw from up to bottom, it will be a flattened curve. So let's change this curve a little bit. Alright, so now let's do the flow along surface, flow along curve, sorry for that. Let's move this one to the endpoint. Type in move. And it's better to make all this cube into a group. So let's select all of them and press Ctrl G, make them a group. Now let's use in flow. Type in flow, choosing the object to flow, which means all this twisted box. Press enter, and then choose the baseline. Don't forget to choose the start point, and then choosing the target curve. And if you don't want to stretch, you can just press yes, no. And if you want to stretch, then you can press yes. And also there's another options. If you choose rigid, it will not change the shape of the geometry. So let's choose rigid. And also let's choose in not stretch. Okay? And let's choose this one. And you can see, okay, it doesn't change at all. It just make this object follow this curve. So that's not the thing we want. Let's delete this one. Type in again, choosing an object to flow along a curve. This one. And then base curve. Finally, the target curve. And this time I'm going to using stretch. And let's choose in, and for the rigid group, let's choose in no. And let's choose in the target curve and press enter. It will take a while to finish the operation because there are too many points right here. Sorry for that. I think there is something wrong here. Let's do that again. Flow. Choosing an object to flow along curve, which means all these cube. Press enter. Choosing a baseline and choosing a target line. And the rigid, as this time I will choose in no. It's supposed to be a flex object. And the stretch, choosing yes. Right now it's working. So as far as you can see, because the curve, all this object was follow the shape of the curve, so it was twisted and straight. So let's turn off the wireframe and move this one to the other side, and you can see it was totally deformed and was distorted and twisted. Okay, so that's the thing we can do inside Rhino Grasshopper with, inside Rhinosys using the flow to do different kinds of transformations. And if you want to keep the shape, you will just keep the shape of the twisted box. You can just choose in rigid, or you can also choose in not too straight. Both of them are work. All right, I will delete this one. So finally, we have go through all this operation, and for this one it doesn't matter. Finally, let's take a look about Boolean and split. And inside Rhinosys, there are two different ways for cutting object. Actually, there are more than two ways. There are a lot of ways to cutting object, including Boolean difference, Boolean union, so many different ways for cutting object. And unlike the things we did inside Blender or Maya, the Boolean inside Blender and Maya usually they are not precise at all. And inside Rhinosys it's super precise. So let's take a look about how to use the cutting tools inside Rhinos. So first things, I will ask you guys to create a comb. So let's go to the cube box here and choosing the comb. You have to hold on the button for longer so that you can cam out this panel. Choosing this one, create a base and make sure it was in a vertical direction and create these combs. Okay, and then in order to cut in this object, we need to create a knife. So let's just draw a couple different curves. It's up to you. You can do any shape you want, and I will just copy them. So rotate into 90 degrees. Alright. And I'd like to hide all the other things because this is the last practice of this file. So let's go to the bubble right here and isolate object. Go to the front view or front side view. Using your left mouse button to click this one, and you can you can call out all up, and you can see the object in every different perspective. I will move the cutting curve to the middle. So for now, I want to cut these cones with this curve. So first thing for sure, if you want to cut this curve, cut these cones, let's take a look. These curves supposed to be longer than the cones. So let's change a little bit of this one. Make this one must go through the entire cones, and for this part as well. Alright, so now all the curve goes through the cones. So there are many different ways for to cut object inside Rhino. The first one, I will call it that one trim. For trim, we're just choosing the part which we don't want to leave. For example, if I don't want this part, I just choose this area. If I don't want this part, I can choose this one as well. So let's using trim. It's right here, trim, or you can just using hotkey Control T to do the trim. First thing, select the cutting object. In this time, it means all these lines, all these curves, and press Enter. And now select the object you want to trim. So for example, I want to cut the cones and I don't want to leave this area. You can just choose this part. Even so, probably they didn't intersect with each other, but actually it still works. It will help you to cut object. Alright. So that's the first way. But you may find out that actually this part becomes empty, and that's not the thing that I want. And I also want to leave this area. I don't want to cut off this one. I don't want to delete this part. If I don't want to delete this part, how can we do that? I will undo everything. Press Ctrl Z to undo. Go to the front view again. And the second way is split. Okay. So we can choose an object we want to split. Press Enter. And then choosing a cutting object. So the sequence is inverse compared to the trim. For the trims, we just select the knife first and then select the cutting object. But in this time, we select the object we want to cut first and then select the cutting object, which means the curves. Let's press Enter. And as far as you can see, for now, everything left. All the everything was there. We didn't delete anything. So if you want to delete something, you can just do that manually. Okay? And maybe you might wonder, if I just do the trim right here, or if I just do the split in the perspective view, what kind of thing will happen? It won't work. Okay? Let's take a look. If I choose trim and choosing cutting object, all this curve, press Enter. Maybe I choose this one, choosing this object. It doesn't allow you to select because for now they don't have any intersection, even in this perspective, and only in front view or the side view. Now Rhinosys can understand, okay, probably you want to do the cutting right here, but if you want to do that in perspective view, it doesn't work. So if you want to do the cutting, or if you want to do trim or split inside perspective view, the things you have to do is to extrude the surface. We need to make them do have some intersection in 3D world. So let's copy this curve, extrusions. So now they have truly intersections. And then let's do the cutting. For example, let's choose the cutting object first, which means the curve. Press Enter. Now you can cut. And for split, it's the same thing, so I will not do that again. Alright, but if you remember, for now when we are working on cutting things, everything was empty, and that's not the things that I want. For sure, we can use this surface to fill this area, but we have to do that again. We have using trim, to select the object, cutting object. This time it will be the cones, and then press enter and choosing the area we want to delete, which means the outside surface. Select this one, the extrusion. So now we leave the curve, we leave the surface, and also we have the cone, we have to join them again. And it will be very complicated. So sometimes I don't want to do that. So now we are going to using another way for cutting. This time I'm going to using boolean right here. And there are a lot of boolean. For example, like a boolean union. We can use a boolean union to combine two objects. So for example, I can draw this cube and also draw maybe one cones. Okay, and select both of them. Hold on your shift key to select both of them and go to boolean union. And they will become an object, and not an intersected object, but a truly integrated object. And another one is that for sure we also have Boolean difference. So if you're choosing Boolean difference, let's go to here, Boolean difference. Select a surface or polysurface to subtract from. So for example, I want to leave this object and press enter. And choose an object to subtract with, so which means the cones. Let's take a look. So for now, Render help us to cut these geometries. Alright. So the things I want to do is to using the surface to cut the cones, but still leave the object we count as a solid object. How can we do that? The thing that we're going to use is Boolean split. Let's use click Boolean split right here, and then select a surface or polysurface to split, which means the cones, and press enter. And then choosing the cutting surface, these three. Press enter. And now if you move this one to the left side, it will become solid. Okay, so that's the things we did for using Boolean split to cutting. So there are multi different ways for cutting, and I think the things I show you is the most useful one. The Boolean split, constrain, and split. So that's the things we can use for cutting. We can use in this way to cut the geometry as the shape we want, and finally get the object, get the model. Okay, so that's everything for today. And basically, I think although we only have for now on, this is the 6 classes, and we didn't learn so many different commands. There are still a lot of commands inside Rhinoceros, but for now actually it's quite enough for you to make some product model. And next part, we are going to using all these commands we know to model a simple vehicle or tank. Okay, so see you next time.